everyone, and welcome back to Mission 1820 and this week's episode of Have You Ever Wondered? If you're just joining us, we're in a series called Books of the Bible, where we've been giving introductions into each book of the Bible in just 5 minutes or less. So without further ado, let's get to this week's book. You know, I need to start off by saying that I was just so excited to finally get to this book, because it is without a doubt one of my all-time favorite books in the entire Bible. That is the Book of Esther. You know, this is the 17th book of the Bible. It's also the last of the 12 historical books that we will cover in the Old Testament. The book is named for its main personality, that is Queen Esther of Persia. Now, her courage and her quick thinking literally saved the Jewish people from disaster. The genre of the book is narrative history, but when you read it, you're going to see it read so much like a short story. It was written sometime between 460 and 350 BC. However, as for the author of the book, that is unknown. The Book of Esther, it describes events that occurred between 483 and 473 BC. This book fits right in between chapters 6 and 7 of the Book of Ezra. Now, although the Book of Esther is after the Book of Nehemiah in the Bible, the events of Esther literally or actually take place about 30 years prior to the Book of Nehemiah. So as you're reading the Book of Esther, you're going to witness God's hand of providence and protection on behalf of his people. But as you read, you're not going to see the name of God anywhere appearing in the writings. But understand, his hand is certainly on the entire book. The Book of Esther is valuable historically because it gives us a view of the Jewish people who were scattered throughout the ancient world about 475 BC. The book, it can be divided into two sections. The first being the threat to the Jews. This is covered in chapters 1 through 4. Now, this includes the selection of Esther as the new queen. It also includes the formulation of the plot by Haman to kill all the Jewish people. The second section, this is the triumph of the Jews. This is covered in chapters 5 through 10. Now, this includes the triumph of Mordecai over Haman, as well as the triumph of Israel over her enemies. The entire book takes place at Shushan, or Susa, which is the administrative capital of the Persian Empire. And it covers about 10 years, from 483 to 473 BC. Some of the main characters in the book, you're going to read about King Xerxes of Persia. You read about Queen Vashti. Now, she's the ex-wife of the king. And then Queen Esther, who becomes the wife of King Xerxes. You're going to read about Haman. This dude is a bad, evil, and scheming prime minister who works for the king. And you're going to read about Mordecai. This is Esther's cousin, and he became a leader among the Jewish people. Now, in an attempt to stamp out the Jews, Haman manipulates the king into issuing a decree calling for the execution of the Jews. But Esther, who's now the queen, she uses her royal favor to intervene and expose Haman's plot to the king, thereby saving the Jewish people from being killed. Because of Esther's heroic measures, the Jewish celebrated by instituting the Feast of Purim in order to mark their miraculous deliverance. Esther proved a wise and most worthy opponent, all the while remaining humble and respectful of the position of her husband, the king. You know, both Esther and her cousin Mordecai are the heroes of this book, but without question, it is Queen Esther who literally put her life on the line by presenting herself before the king without being summoned by him, which could have resulted in her immediate execution. So with that, I hope that this introduction is going to encourage you to read this fascinating story in the Book of Esther. So God bless, and thanks for watching.